When we're talking about our own age or referring to the age of someone else, we also use the verb tener. So in English, we would typically say, for example, I am 40 years old. But in Spanish, they say, I have 40 years old. Now, 40 in Spanish is cuarenta. Cuarenta. And we're going to use just this one number as an example as we go through this lesson. So we have cuarenta. Cuarenta is 40. So again, to say I am 40, it would be tengo cuarenta. Literally, I have 40. If you want to extend it and say I am 40 years old, then it would simply be tengo cuarenta años. So años is years. How would you say you're 40? Tienes cuarenta. She's 40. Tiene cuarenta. We're 40 years old. Tenemos 40 años. They're 40 years old. Tienen 40 años. Jumping into the future tense, we might want to say, I'm going to be 40. And you would simply say, voy a tener 40. Literally, I'm going to have 40. So, voy a tener 40. Knowing that, how do you think you would say, you're going to be 40 today? Vas a tener 40 hoy. What about he or she's going to be 40? Va a tener 40. We're going to be 40. Vamos a tener 40. They're going to be 40. Van a tener 40. Let's go into the past now, and you'll typically be using the line past. In fact, a little while ago, I was trying to think of any example or situation where I might use the dot past when referring to age, and I couldn't think of one. So we're going to be using pretty much exclusively the line past when talking about age. Now, to say I was 40 years old yesterday, it would be tenía 40 años ayer. So I was having 40 years yesterday. How would you say he was 40 years old? Tenía 40 años. To say the number 10 in Spanish would be diez. Diez, that end Z there sounds more like an S. Diez. How would you say she was only 10 years old? Solo tenía 10 años. Remember from earlier lessons, we tend to throw those little words at the front of the sentence in Spanish. So what we're saying literally is only she was having 10 years. Solo tenía 10 años. What about you were only 10 years old? Solo tenías 10 años. For the other angles, we would have teníamos and tenían for we were and they were, but it works in the exact same way as the previous examples we've been through. To finish off this little lesson, I'd like to add in a little phrase, which is when it happened. And that would simply be cuando pasó. Cuando pasó is when it happened. Cuando pasó. Knowing that, how would you say, I was only 10 years old when it happened? Solo tenía 10 años cuando pasó. What about we were only 10 years old when it happened? Solo teníamos 10 años cuando pasó. Now try to say they were only 10 years old when it happened. Solo tenían 10 años cuando pasó.